you think of Buenos Aires as the center of Argentina's vast cattle industry, you're only half right. It's also the home of the largest factories in the world devoted to the manufacture of macaroni and spaghetti. Of course, the dough must be rolled flat before it can be shredded or cut up into morsels for immersion in soup, or given any one of hundreds of forms. A ton of dough is needed at once. Tons of dough, in fact, are needed to supply all that's needed, if you get what I mean. These hoppers, when loaded with dough, must sustain a pressure of hundreds of tons on the glutinous mass, which, under the terrific pressure, comes forth macaroni, spaghetti, or even vermicelli. A practiced arm and a blade razor keen cut the shreds to proper length and ready for the drying process under scientifically graduated and controlled temperatures. No, it's not a hula dancer's washing on the line, it's spaghetti. And in a variety of forms, it all comes to Uncle Sam's dinner tables. Some is trimmed by hand, but the soup type is cut with a machine, which may produce different lengths by changing the speed and different forms by changing the dyes. This apparatus makes double-knotted tangles of the shredded paste, which comes to the machine straight and still moist, to be folded neatly, looped by steel fingers, and generally snarled up before being laid on a tray and made ready for the dryer. From this intricate punch press will issue 500,000 uncooked morsels per hour if the sheet of dough holds up. And this is the sheet that was punched. It'll go back to be rolled and then punched again. At its present top speed, this cutter-upper of smallest soup types is making millions of pieces per hour. All this factory's product is destined for the dinner tables of the United States, and out of the pasty letters may all good words be formed, and though thrown into the soup, spell ever-increasing goodwill between the people of the two Americas. Here's another reason, ladies, why you can't get nylon stockings as you used to. Adeline Gray of Hartford, Connecticut, is testing nylon parachutes, and the lives of many gallant boys are in her expert hands as she wraps up the resilient bundles. After testing the opening mechanism, she subjects each chute to her mechanical merry-go-round test for parachutes. Scientifically measured air pressures will find a flaw, if there is one, in the canopy of nylon flying through a controlled perimeter. At its highest speed, the chute will open in another demonstration of the superiority, so experts declare, of nylon over silk in every quality deemed desirable in a parachute, including higher resilience and lower cost. Her unusual occupation became most unusual when she made the first live test of a nylon parachute. She justified the faith of its makers by risking her life in the test which proved nylon to be as stout as her courage. So that's why you don't get nylon stockings, ladies. They're sustaining gallant lads dropping on the foe. They're the makings of the canopies which a valiant little rigger has tested. Miss Adeline Gray. Mr. Lawrence Edward Ashbrook, the Kentucky whittler, adorns his roadside restaurant near Lexington, Kentucky, with faces he uncovers with his axe from the odds and ends of his wood pile. But the hatchet yields to the jackknife for the finer, the lighter touches, such as these plaques of all the presidents of the United States. He says it took him more than a year to work his way from Washington to Roosevelt, but it took 1,000 hours to complete this statuesque bust of the beloved Will Rogers. Lately, he's been animating the figures he carves, using horsehair to stir them into action. He now rides his unusual hobby into the past, and his cafe museum takes on historic interest, recalling the Kentucky of long ago. Daniel Boone doesn't like the Indian's hollow tom-tom. The blacksmith blows the coals of yesteryear and bangs an obsolete anvil. The bugler plays for Uncle Sam, but the likeness of Miss Ashbrook lacks the charm of her smile. 1,000 figures in 45 years and not one sold. He just makes them and keeps them, does this whittling genius of Kentucky. San Francisco's Chinatown, Little Canton it's called, has long rated its own telephone directory for its 2,500 subscribers and its population of 17,000 Chinese and American citizens of Chinese ancestry. Since 1907, it's had its own exchange building, where now are employed 24 hello girls whose unusual occupation demands the unusual bilingual ability to take and answer calls in Chinese and English, and never listen in Chinese or English, no matter how interesting the conversation may be between a scholarly son of a Mandarin and some pretty impossible date. Every employee is a loyal American with a bond-buying record of which any other patriotic American might well be proud. These girls, 2 generations away from China, are products of a new world, yet they are daughters of wise and ancient China. Just one of the 12,000 connections, which is the daily average, supervised by Pansy Tam, as serene and efficient a supervisor as graces any exchange. Our respect for the mentality of these girls expands in the knowledge that most of the calls from their Chinese subscribers give only the name and not the number. Yes, it's a pretty unusual girl who can remember 2,500 names and 2,500 telephone numbers. The searchlight of the cinema now picks up one whose whole life has been dedicated to the ancient biblical command, "Let there be light." Nor will he admit that there's any light so grateful to human eyes as that which he, Jose Herrera of Durango, Mexico, offers to the world. He makes candles in the almost obsolete way of his forefathers in Spain, by pouring instead of by dipping. The wax is a blend of paraffin, beeswax, and 4 other ingredients, poured molten upon strings which are the wicks. It takes 6 hours to complete a ring of 75 candles. And the work is more expert than it seems. To maintain symmetry and produce an even burning candle requires skill and patience. He makes his own color dyes just as he makes his own perfume, for his candles not only delight the eye with color and light, but appeal to olfactory nerves with odors from 19 different perfumes. In his little shop, Jose Herrera produces 100,000 candles a year. He even makes square candles and candles 8 and 12 inches in diameter, which call for applications of wax every 3 hours. A 12-inch candle, 6 feet high, will burn steadily for 2 years, which is as unusual for candles as is the occupation of Jose Herrera, who makes them. Most frightful foe, fed with inflammable fuel oil. At the Navy firefighters' schools, enlisted men and officers learn an unusual occupation, how to defeat the sea's most dreadful peril, a ship on fire. Diffused water like a wet blanket smothers the flames. In this hot work, the students soon lose the psychological terror which a fire at sea inspires. They know they can put it out. And since the attack may have to be made against the wind, they will move toward the enemy through its fetid, billowing breath. In this structure, built exactly like the interior of a ship's hold and engine room, all the perils of a ship on fire are encountered. Into this inferno, in this most dangerous of unusual occupations, they go to bring out trapped victims and put out flames, protected by the Navy's secret mask and asbestos suit. A flanking attack is made, and now, after a schooling of only 2 days, following successful struggles like this, rookies, veterans, and their officers will go to their duties at sea with skill born of practice and confidence that they can and will defeat seemingly unconquerable flames with their own invincible courage.